前刚刚进来就位。아니, 그러니까 내가 말하는 데 대인 내국에서 엄청 멋있고 하는 야 당시에는 가지유 대야 방금 진짜 야 대리 주기로 한다는 것들이 인계톤이 양으로 때 산에기 라운드 속에 속주 대신하는 거 인계톤만 뛰는 그래.
Hello everyone. Before we begin, we have a few couple statements and a few speakers speaking today. So to the stage, I would like to ask Tibetan VOA to come to the stage.
Can you stand up maybe like up there? It's better.
Okay, today we're going to have a little program before we begin our protest. So before we begin, we're going to have a couple speakers and some statements read. So to the stage, I'd like to ask Tibetan to come.
들어와질라. 또 철치 선수 들어와질라. 나 대표에는 들어와질라면은 다음에 이제 들어와질라 옆에로나. 네, 러스라서 난 오늘 좋은 선수. 걔 제일 뒤치기 있어. 이 제들이야. 나라도 별이 주디 속에기 율레 세바도마.
Next, we will have from Tang Tibetan take their statement.
Hello everyone, ladies and gentlemen, fellow advocates for justice. Tibet thrived as bastion of civilization for over 2,000 years. A harmonious existence was destroyed by the People's Liberation Army in 1949. Since then, Chinese government has relentlessly attacked Tibet's cultural identity. In spite of this, I want to assure you that Tibet's indomitable spirit is resilient, unwavering, and ready for anything. We gather here today as a global community, not just Tibetans. Tibetan culture will not be erased from history as we rally for resilience. World leaders must condemn the oppressive regime that has turned our homeland into a prison. Tibetans face barriers to travel and access under China's iron grip. Chinese propaganda works tirelessly to erase Tibetan culture. Chinese leaders are relentlessly attacking Tibet's cultural richness, woven through centuries of art, music, literature, and a deep devotion to peace. Propaganda against the Dalai Lama is spread, journalists are arrested, and children are indoctrinated. Religious freedom is also attacked. The Chinese Communist Party views Tibetan Buddhism as a formidable obstacle. Monks and nuns face relentless persecution, and over 6,200 monasteries have been damaged or destroyed. Our religious freedom has been blatantly violated by the demolition of Tibet's Larungar Buddhist Institute. Beyond this, the Tibetan Plateau, a vital source of fresh water for over 1.5 billion people, is threatened. Chinese exploitations of Tibet's natural resources threatens our environment and the entire planet. We rally today for our sacred lands as well as ourselves. We are resolutely opposed to reckless plunder of Tibet's resources. Now, here's the call to action. Join us against China's oppression. Let's demand international pressure to liberate us from tyranny. Condemn China's removal of Tibetan language education, which is a desperate attempt to erase our rich culture and heritage. Demand access to Tibetan children in Chinese colonial boarding schools. Call for religious freedom in Tibet and stand up for Tibet's sacred ecosystem. Let your voices force change, pressuring China to cease its destructive practices and work with us to protect our precious and scarce land and water resources. Together, united in purpose, our voices cannot be ignored. We stand on the right side of history, demanding justice, freedom, and the right to preserve our identity. Thank you.
이제 나가봐. 이제 나가서 세븐 산이 주는 랩덕이 동지 대지 발송할래요. 잠시 나오나 주의.
Thank you, Tibetan. Now we will have Binti Basang from SFRTYC.
Good morning, everyone. As San Francisco hosts APEC 2023 under the resonating theme, Creating a Resilient and Sustainable Future for All, we stand at a critical juncture in our commitment to economic development and human rights. The profound interconnectedness between how governments and businesses conduct trade and economic growth and the protection of human rights cannot be overstated. Tibet, a region of a profound historical significance with a rich culture and identity, is entangled in a web of human rights challenges under Chinese rule. These challenges include severe restrictions on freedom of expression, religion, and forced culture assimilation and population transfer, and the ruthless suppression of a political dissent. These violations are further exacerbated by economic activities that show a blatant disregard for environmental sustainability, exploit natural resources, and perpetuate the forced label of Tibetan people. This exploitation not only harms individuals, but also leads to environmental degradation and further marginalization of the Tibetan population. As APEC champions economic growth and trade across the Asia-Pacific region, we must recognize our collective role in upholding human rights standards. This responsibility extends to our member economies, both within their own borders and in areas like Tibet under their influence. APEC must not unwittingly condone or support policies that contribute to human rights violations. Instead, we should proactively inspire and insist on a steadfast commitment to preservation of human rights and the culture of cultural diversity, and the pursuit of sustainable economic development. This time has come for APEC members to assume responsibility for addressing these pressing issues. Through open and constructive dialogue, robust cooperation, and renewed dedication to human rights, we can forge a future where economic developments in Asia-Pacific region align seamlessly with safeguarding and advancing human rights. Only then can we realize a lot characterized by the prosperity, equity, and sustainability. This future respects the dignity and rights of all who call the Asia-Pacific region home. Let us unite in the endeavor and make it a reality in San Francisco and beyond. Pagano! Free Tibet! Free Tibet! Pagano!
그렇잖아, 대마사가 이 제들이야 당신랑의 지명이나 미국주의 지명이나 평균 등장을 표현하는 주의 지명을 나오도 다 수저 나오나.
Thank you, Station Pasala from SFRTYC. Now we will have Speaker Jimmy Wila.
Today is Lakar, White Wednesday, the day for His Holiness. So long live! Long live! Lakar Teshtile. To everyone but Xi Jinping and his CCP cronies. For 64 years, the Chinese government has unleashed untold misery, pain, suffering, a military colonialized occupation of Tibet. For 64 years, China is doing everything to erase Tibetan identity, Tibetan religion, Tibetan language, and the Tibetans' love for His Holiness the Dalai Lama. But for 64 years, China has failed every time. China has failed because of leaders like Xi Jinping, who look at a short-term profit while taking away a long-term heritage, culture, religion, power of what Tibet and the Tibetan people stands for. And most importantly, China has failed repeatedly to have Tibetans dismiss His Holiness the Dalai Lama. For 64 years, His Holiness the Dalai Lama has been living in exile. He's 88 years old, but still hopes within the Tibetan people in Tibet is that he will one day come back to Tibet, to his rightful throne at the Potala Palace and a free and independent Tibet. 168 Tibetans, some as young as 14 and 15 years old, have self-immolated, burned themselves, calling for Tibet's independence, calling for the return of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Over 1.2 million Tibetans killed, massacred after the Chinese occupation. Over 6,000 ancient temples destroyed. But Tibetans have not given up hope. Tibetans have not given up determination. Tibetans in Tibet will not give up until and unless Tibet is independent. The thing that we talk about most when we come to America is the freedom. We talk about how there is a democracy in Tibet, in America. But when the enemy of the state, when a dictator, when a murderer comes to this country, they lay down the red carpet. This person should be in handcuffs, not sitting and eating with the president. This person should be banned because of what he did in Tibet, in East Turkestan, what they did in Hong Kong, what he does in Taiwan, and to all the Chinese dissidents. And together, we are raising the voice so that world leaders will acknowledge what's happening. And to all the CEOs who are paying $2,000 to go and eat dinner with this dictator. The business, the short-term profit that you bring into Tibet or East Turkestan is forced labor, is in concentration camps. Tibet has the largest supply of copper. There is untold mining happening in the Tibetan lands, where Tibetan nomads are displaced. Our way of life, our Tibetan way of life, living in the grasslands, are being taken away. Our language, in the mountains, where Tibetan languages like Omane Pemeho were written, are being removed and Chinese proverbs are being put up. This is the kind of insecurity this government has. Yet, China has the audacity to say who the 15th Dalai Lama should be. Shame on China!
Shame on China!
Shame on Xi Jinping!
Shame on Xi Jinping!
Shame on everyone who supports and kowtows to the CCP government. Yesterday, we were at the airport. Xi Jinping landed. We saw, about 20 minutes prior to that, President Biden drove. He had a motorcade, about 4 motorcycles and the Beast. The Beast is the Air Force where the president goes in. So they came in. And about 20 minutes later, the Chinese dictator comes in. There are 6 motorcycles. There are more cars than the President of America. Something is wrong.
Exactly.
Shame on them.
Shame on them.
They have blood in their hands. Every time they sit and shake hands with this dictator, they have blood in his hands. I call on the leaders of California. How easy it is to remove homelessness because you want the dictator to have a good view. How easy it is to curtail Tibetan, Uyghur, Taiwanese and Hong Kong protesters because they don't want this dictator to see it. Shame on this democracy. It is weak. This democracy is weak because it is dictated by a dictator.
That's right.
Shame on them.
Shame on them.
64 years, we have not given up hope. we will never give up hope. As long as there's one Tibetan living in this world, we will keep fighting for Tibet's independence. And as long as His Holiness is not back in on the Potala Palace, Tibetans in Tibet will continue fighting for freedom, for Ramzan, for every human right that's necessary. So we call on world leaders to say that we are not going anywhere. We will be here, even if it takes another 64 years, because the Tibetan movement is righteous, because the Tibetan freedom fight is right, and the Tibetan independence is our birthright. Pegalo! 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 Tibet belongs to! Tibet belongs to! Shame on! Shame on! Long live! Long live!
Pegalo! Pegalo! Pegalo!
主席拿几名了？主席拿，从我查出些头了，主席拿干没了的？我是拿主席拿学员，今天第一节的了 ，Alex 找 Alex。
Hello everyone. Now we will have Alex Chow speaking.
Free Tibet! Free Tibet! Free East Turkestan! Free East Turkestan! Free Hong Kong! Free Hong Kong! Free Tibet! Free Tibet! Free East Turkestan! Free East Turkestan! Free Hong Kong! Free Hong Kong! So hi everyone, I'm Alex Chow from Hong Kong. So we heard many powerful speech, and here's mine. So I was imprisoned in 2017 along two of my friends, Joshua Wong and Nathan Law. Joshua now is still in jail and Nathan is in exile. So we were imprisoned because we were the student leaders of the 2014 Umbrella Movement, occupying the major avenues in Hong Kong, fighting for democracy. But we were imprisoned. I still remember when I was in prison, my mom came and visited me. When she came into the room, she cried. And there was a glass separating my mom and I myself. There's no touching, there's no hugging, there's no teasing. It was such a torturing moment. When we walked out from the prison, the three of us were nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize, such an honorable recognition. But inside myself, I was terrified, just because we might end up languishing in prison as Liu Xiaobo. And being the enemy of the states could also place a huge burden on our family members. But we persist, because we realize we can't give up and we can't back down. It is on us to take back our homeland. Free Tibet! Free Tibet! Free East Turkestan! Free East Turkestan! Free Hong Kong! Free Hong Kong! When I was in prison a few years ago, there were only a dozen of political prisoners. But now stood in prison were more than 1,700 ordinary people, ordinary protesters in the 2019 movement. There's such an immense increase of political prisoners, also reflecting the changing crackdown, the severity of the crackdown happening in Hong Kong, as it was always have been happening in Tibet, in East Turkestan. Today here, among the Hong Kongers, we also have young protesters in exile. We have long immigrants have been in the United States for many decades, but we also have a young generation. And among us, one of them is Anna Kwok, who was being hunted and on the wanted list of the Hong Kong government. Her head was with $1 million Hong Kong bounty. And in recent days, because of the protest against Xi's visit, she also received numerous death threats, harassment online. But we are here in solidarity with every individual freedom-loving person. Free Tibet! Free Tibet! Free East Turkestan!
Free East Turkestan!
Free Hong Kong!
Free Hong Kong!
In June earlier this year, I visited Latin America with our Uyghur delegates, and also we visited the Tibet house in Brazil. We were aware that there are very little Brazilians or Tibetan Brazilians living in Brazil, but we happened to meet with the delegates from His Holiness, being sent to Brazil to promote the democratic affairs, the struggle and the fight of the Tibetan people. When our Uyghur friend got an interview, the same night of the day, the press got a threat from the Chinese embassy, saying, "How dare you to give a platform to a Uyghur activist?" What happened ending up the next day was you still have a full page of a one-on-one interview of the Uyghur activist, but what alongside the interview was another full page of an op-ed from the Chinese embassy criticizing the Uyghur movement, criticizing the Tibetan movement, criticizing the Hong Kong movement, spreading misinformation. Shame on you! Shame on you! The United States of the Americas, as supposedly leader of the democratic world, we have to persist and continue to bow our Congress representative, our administration, by collaborating with the Chinese regime. You are collaborating with the dictator and the murderer of the Tibetan people, of the Uyghur people, of the Hong Konger. Shame on CCP!
Shame on CCP!
Shame on Xi Jinping!
Shame on CCP!
Shame on the PRC regime! Long live the Tibetan people!
Long live the Tibetan people!
Long live the Uyghur people! Long live the Hong Kongers! Let's stand in solidarity today to make our voice heard! Free Tibet!
Free Tibet!
Free East Pakistan!
Free Pakistan!
Free Hong Kongers!
Free Hong Kong!
Let's continue the fight, brothers and sisters from Tibet, Uyghur and Hong Kong!
Thank you, Timbajan. Next, we will have Tini Wangde from Portland.
My name is Tsering, and today I, along with 13 of my fellow Tibetans from Oregon and Washington State, are here on behalf of thousands of others who could not make the trip. Today, we are gathered here to be the voice of our fellow Tibetans inside Tibet who are suffering under an oppressive Chinese regime. We are here today to be the voice for the millions of innocent Tibetan children who are forcefully separated from their parents and families and assimilated at residential schools. We are here to send a message strong and clear to Xi Jinping and his regime that we Tibetans will not remain silent so long as you keep the lives of our fellow Tibetans in Tibet under siege. We will stay united and steadfast in our struggle against the illegal occupation of our homeland. We speak with one voice that Xi Jinping's repressive regime will not control us. We speak with one voice that we will no longer tolerate the extreme repression that we have endured for the past 65 years. The spirit of our struggle will grow stronger with our new generation of Tibetans. Today, tomorrow, and until we are free from the shackles of Xi Jinping and his oppressive PRC regime. We want to remind the leaders of the free world who are gathered here for the APEC summit. You can never achieve economic cooperation and prosperity in the Asia-Pacific region as long as there remains a Chinese regime that violates human rights and maintain a policy of cultural genocide, atrocities against Tibetans, and the separation of millions of Tibetans, children and from families, and forced assimilation at boarding schools. We appeal to you, President Biden, to stand up to the virtues of these words, the land of the free and home of the brave. Lead the leaders of the world and let Xi Jinping know that he needs to right the wrong, respect human rights, and respect the will of the Tibetan people in Tibet. Finally, I offer my earnest prayers for a healthy and long life of our most revered leader, His Holiness the Great 14th Dalai Lama. I pray to His Holiness that His Holiness will soon return to a free Tibet. Free Tibet! Free Tibet!
Free Tibet!
Free Tibet! Free Tibet!
Free Tibet!
Free Hong Kong!
Free Hong Kong!
Free Hong Kong!
Free Hong Kong!
Free East Turkestan!
Free East Turkestan!
Free Taiwan!
Free Taiwan!
Free Taiwan!
Free Taiwan!
Free Tibet!
Free Tibet!
President Biden, speak for human rights!
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 Next we have the general manager, Rahul Lobu Susani, Rahul Lobu Sobe, Jojo Dejilane, Tamshi Sanju.
Hello everyone, I'm from SFT Bay area and I'll be giving their statement. Gathered here today are people bonded through blood, sweat, and tears. We have faced the Chinese government's wrath, whether it be through the killing of our people, our culture being eradicated, or the exploitation of our land. Xi Jinping's actions are nothing short of being heinous. He has been eradicating Tibetan culture and has assimilated over 1 million Tibetan children into Chinese colonial boarding schools, where they are forced to speak Chinese, think Chinese, and be Chinese. This is an indefensible crime. The Chinese government actions extend beyond cultural oppression to encompass blatant human rights and forceful collection of Tibetan blood and DNA samples. This invasive and unethical practice has raised concerns about the potential for genetic surveillance and discrimination against Tibetans. In addition, Chinese government is responsible for the Tibetan climate crisis. Their illegal deforestation and mining inside Tibet have destroyed the Tibetan plateau, which is a source of Asia's major rivers. Almost 1.35 billion people rely on this plateau for water, and Xi has led a relentless campaign of oppression, cultural erasure, and erosion of human rights. In the spirit of collective responsibility and commitment to human rights, we urge the international community to act against the violations this regime has enacted. We must stand up and demonstrate our devotion to human rights and justice. Xi Jinping's attendance at the upcoming APEC insults the principles of democracy, human rights, and environmental protection that APEC supposedly upholds. It is imperative that APEC members send a message not only to us, but those who call the Asian Pacific region home, that they will not tolerate the atrocities Xi Jinping has committed, and they will not overlook the gross human rights violations just for economic means. They must send a clear message to China's President Xi Jinping that he is not welcome and nor for his atrocities. Peggy Dakpo! Peggy Dakpo! Peggy Dakpo! Hello everyone, now we will have a statement from SFT headquarters.
Next Hong Kong democracy. Uyghurs? Anyone from Uyghurs to speak? Anyone from UAA? Please, please. We are running late now. Hello? Anyone from UAA? Please. This will be our last final speaker. Then we'll start marching down to the Mascon Center, okay? What's your name?
Hello everyone!
Hello!
Assalamu alaikum! Today we're here standing in solidarity with our Tibetans, our Hong Kongers, brothers and sisters. I see everyone gathered together to tell the world that we are not going to be silenced by the CCP, by the Chinese Communist Party. As you know, as an Uyghur, China is committing a genocide, and Xi Jinping is the architect, the organizer of this genocide, and he is the criminal who designed this system to kill millions of innocent people. As you know, millions are sent to concentration camps, forced labor camps, and they're facing political indoctrination, forced labor, sterilization, organ harvesting, rape, sexual abuse, torture, and many more. And we all suffered by the CCP's hands. And Xi Jinping's hand is dirty. His hand is full with Uyghurs' blood and Tibetans' blood and Hong Kongers. And what happened to Uyghurs today is coming to Hong Kong and coming to Tibet and coming to the world. So CCP is the threat to the whole world, to democracy, to freedom. That's why we need to stand by each other and fight for our freedom.
Freedom for East Turkestan!
Freedom for East Turkestan!
Freedom for Tibet!
Freedom for Tibet!
China stop the genocide!
China stop the genocide!
China stop the genocide!
China stop the genocide!
China stop the genocide against the Uyghurs!
China stop the genocide against the Uyghurs!
China stop genocide against Tibetans!
China stop genocide against Tibetans!
We want freedom!
We want freedom!
We want freedom!
We want freedom!
We want justice!
We want justice!
Shame, shame, China, shame!
Shame, shame, China, shame!
Shame on Xi Jinping!
Shame on Xi Jinping!
Shame on Xi Jinping!
Shame on Xi Jinping!
Xi Jinping lies, people die! China lies, people die! China stop killing!
China stop killing!
China stop killing Uyghurs!
China stop killing Uyghurs!
China stop killing Tibetans!
China stop killing Tibetans!
China out of East Turkestan!
China out of East Turkestan!
China out of Tibet!
China out of Tibet!
Freedom for Hong Kong!
Freedom for Hong Kong!
Freedom for Taiwan!
Freedom for Taiwan!
Freedom for China!
Freedom for China!
Freedom for East Turkestan!
Freedom for East Turkestan!
We want freedom!
We want freedom!
We want freedom!
We want freedom!
We want justice!
We want justice!
Shame, shame, China, shame! Shame, shame, Xi Jinping, shame! Shame, shame, Xi Jinping, shame! Shame on Xi Jinping!
Shame on Xi Jinping!
Go home, Xi Jinping!
Go home, Xi Jinping!
Go home, Xi Jinping!
Go home, Xi Jinping!
We want justice!
We want justice!
We want freedom!
We want freedom!
We want liberty!
We want liberty!
Shame on China!
Shame on China!
Shame on Xi Jinping!
Shame on Xi Jinping!
Shame on Xi Jinping!
Shame on Xi Jinping!
China stop the genocide!
China stop the genocide!
Xi Jinping committing genocide!
Xi Jinping committing genocide!
Xi Jinping stop the genocide!
Xi Jinping stop the genocide!
China stop the genocide!
China stop the genocide!
Genocide against Uyghurs!
China stop the genocide!
Genocide against Tibetans!
China stop the genocide!
China stop the genocide!
China stop the genocide!
Genocide against Uyghurs!